Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time visiting, please take a moment to subscribe so you can be alerted to future videos that I will be posting. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about high concept, what it is, and why it's important to take it into consideration when you're planning your next novel. So in my opinion, high concept is a relatable idea that appeals broadly, but usually with a bit of a twist to it, so it's not completely predictable. This way, your reader will hear of the story, they'll be interested because they'll already have some sense of where it's going to go, but your spin on it is going to intrigue them and make them want to pick up the book even more and find out exactly what's going to happen and how your version of the story is going to end. So to be completely honest, I've never been very fond of taking high concept into consideration. That's just because I've had some really, what I felt were really great ideas that never made it into books, because I would pitch those ideas to my editor and then I would be told that no, the idea was not strong enough, it wasn't relatable enough or marketable enough, it wasn't high concept enough. And I'd be like, no, like people are gonna love this story, they're really gonna want to read it. But I would be told that, well, that's all great and everything, but you need to be able to sell as many books as possible as well, and get as many readers on board as possible, because otherwise you're not going to make any money out of it, and the publisher is not going to make any money out of it. And at the end of the day, this is your writing career that we're talking about, and you need to be able to have a pretty good income, and you get that income through selling books. And the way to sell books, the easiest way to sell a lot of books, is to have a really good high concept idea. So how do you work on creating a high concept for your story? Well, the trick that I like to use is I tend to look at fairy tales. There are primarily 3 fairy tales that I believe are really solid foundations, or can be really solid foundations, for high concept stories. And these are Cinderella, The Ugly Duckling, Beauty and the Beast, which, if you think about it, they've actually been used very often, both in movies and in literature, to come up with solid ideas, high concept ideas. For example, for Cinderella, you have Pretty Woman, there's Slumdog Millionaire is another Cinderella story, Sabrina is a Cinderella story. These are stories about someone who is coming from a low-income background and who then makes it big, makes it famous, gets rich. It caters to this dream that we all have of one day winning the lottery, right? And then you have the Ugly Duckling stories. Examples of those would be The Princess Diaries, My Fair Lady, The New Guy. These are makeover stories about someone who is maybe not considered to be pretty, and then they show up at the ball or at the party, and everyone's like, wow, they're amazing, and they've really transformed into someone better than what they were. Or you have, let's say, Beauty and the Beast. Examples would be Phantom of the Opera, Beastly, or Shrek even. So these are kind of the stories that then, if you put a twist to them, people will have a sense of what they can expect from the story, but your twist to it, and this is where the what if question is going to come in. I'll explain that in a little bit. The twist is going to be more intriguing. It's going to put a different spin on a story that they're used to, that they're comfortable with, that they know they're going to get out of. But the twist that you then put on it is going to make them want to buy your book. So the next thing you want to do is ask a what if question. So for example, in the case of Pretty Woman, what if a businessman / millionaire were to meet a prostitute, bring her into his own world, and fall in love with her? So immediately people are going to know that this is a Cinderella kind of a story, because you have the prostitute, you have the upstanding businessman / millionaire, and people are going to wonder, well, how is that going to work? How is he going to be able to bring her into his world without people being shocked or asking questions? Are they going to hide her real identity from people? And what happens once they fall in love? Are they going to be able to get the happy ever after that we, the viewer, are hoping that they'll be able to get? So immediately you're catering to the whole Cinderella idea, something that the viewer is familiar with, and will want to figure out how it's all going to be resolved in the end. So they know what ride to expect, but there's a twist that is going to leave them in suspense until the very end of the story. Now, you don't have to necessarily write a high concept story. I'm sure that you may have ideas that, just like me, you feel are great, wonderful ideas, but they don't have that high concept, but they're still stories that you'd like to be able to write. And certainly go ahead, write them, because every bit of writing that you do is great practice. However, if you want to be traditionally published, you are going to have to come up with a strong high concept for your story or for your series. And that's simply because agents and editors, they receive hundreds of manuscripts. And unless your story idea stands out, unless it's appealing to the market that you're trying to sell to, then your story is just going to end up in a big slush pile where it's going to sit and gather dust and never see the light of day, unless of course you choose to self-publish. And this is something that I have done myself. I have had ideas that really just, I had felt a deep need to write, to turn into stories, and so I went and I self-published them, and they didn't do very well, to be honest. They didn't do nearly as well as I expected, and I would consider that a huge learning experience. It really taught me the value of having a high concept idea, because at the end of the day, this is, it's my career, and it might be your career as well, unless you're just writing as a hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in my case, writing is my career, and so it's not enough to just have an appealing story or a story that I feel a deep need to write. I also have to make an income off of it, and the way to do that really is to come up with a high concept idea, a story that appeals to most people and that they're going to want to pick up and read, and just get it written and publish that, because it's so much easier to market something that's based on, let's say, Cinderella as an example, than it is to market something that's just, oh, well, you know, it's about a couple who are living in the woods and their neighbors, and they just, one is suffering from some issue that they can't get over, and the other person is running away from something, and they meet each other and fall in love. There, you know, it's not that interesting. It's not high concept, and it's kind of dull maybe to most people. Of course, a good writer could turn that into a really, really compelling story, but for most writers, I think sticking to high concept ideas is really the way to go if you want to have a successful book release and sell a lot of books, which is hopefully what you want to try to accomplish. So the most recent series that I've been working on for Avon, my Diamonds in the Rough series, the first book in that series, A Most Unlikely Duke, was actually pitched as a spin on My Fair Lady, because instead of a woman, you have a man. He's a boxer who's living in the slums of St. Giles, and who suddenly learns that he's the heir to a duke, and since the duke and his sons have all recently perished, this guy is now the new duke, and so it's about how he has to move into the rich part of town called Mayfair and navigate high society. And how will he deal with that? That's the question. You know, that's the spin on the whole Cinderella, ugly duckling kind of a concept. It's both a makeover story and a rags to riches story, with the rich lady next door, rich young lady next door, helping him learn about etiquette, how to speak, how to walk, how to hold a teacup, and just basically how to navigate high society. My next book in the series, the fifth book that I'm going to be working on, is going to be a little bit different. That's more of a Beauty and the Beast concept, just simply because the guy who's going to be the hero, he has a lot of inner anger and hatred, and he wants vengeance. So it's not an external beastly, like he's not ugly on the outside or anything like that, but he has a lot of inner turmoil that he has to work through and overcome in order to live happily ever after. So that is the high concept for that. It's with a bit of a spin, just simply because of who this guy is. He's a bit of a villain, running a bit of a crime gang in the slums of St. Giles. So hopefully, I think readers are going to be interested in his character and just to see how I managed to turn him around and make him a hero in his own story. So if you can think of any other foundations for high concept ideas that you would like to share, please feel free to do so in the comment section below. Or if you have any questions about high concept ideas or writing in general that you'd like to ask me, again, please post your questions in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed and you'd like to be alerted to future videos that I'll be posting as I start working on my 5th book in the Diamonds in the Rough series, please do so, and thanks so much for watching. Until next time, take care.